right, guys, welcome back to Beards of War. So this week's movie is going to be, drumroll, Ministry of Gentlemanly Warfare. Man, I trashed that, didn't I? But it's okay because it
You
was a
did.
great movie that made up for it. Yeah, so this movie is kind of billed as a World War II British interaction with a variety of different forces in that theater. But it was a Lionsgate movie. I want to say it was 8.9 million on its first release, so not too shabby on a $60 million budget. Hopefully, it gets more views, maybe from Beards of War. But it was directed by Guy Ritchie, starring Henry Cavill, Alan Richson, and Isa Gonzalez. The key grip, man, got a shout out to key grip. Nail Aiden, something like that. I got close. And it was produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. Need I say more? It's got to be awesome, right? So yeah, the movie is just kind of set in that World War II scene, an era where these guys are kind of banded together by the Brits to get involved with the war and kind of change the direction of things, and that kind of gave birth to what we kind of know now as the modern black operations thing. So, without further ado, I'd like to kick this over to our sponsor before we get into the movie.
All right, what's up, good people? It's your boy, Thick Nick Fury, here to tell you about Roan Industries, which is a veteran owned company that strives to provide better gear for better operators. To do this, they design products with only the necessary moving parts, no excess fluff, simple functionality. When you get to the checkout section, be sure to use BOW in all caps in order to get 15% discount from our brothers over at Roan. Back to you, fellas.
All right, guys. Fat Broken Rambo here. We're going to talk about killing Nazis again. And no, it probably won't happen again next week, but this week So the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is by far probably one of the most excited I was. I'm sorry, tongue-tied there. I was super excited for this movie to release. I love the history of World War II, and I love special operations. So watching this movie kind of come together, I was following it pretty closely. Little nervous apprehension going in, just because I needed it to be great, and it's fantastic. So it opens up basically around 1942. Hitler is kind of stomping a mud hole in the Brits. U.S. forces haven't quite gotten involved yet on the actual ground itself, and Churchill needs a win really bad. Otherwise, they're potentially plotting to overthrow him so they can surrender to German control. And Churchill isn't having any of that. Basically colludes with a British general, puts together a squad of heavy hitters, and puts them to work on an impossible task of helping basically defeat the German U-boat fleet that is harassing the Atlantic by stripping away critical parts and things of that nature. And it's all about him assembling the team and going in and killing a shitload of Nazis.
Yeah, man, these guys were they were about their business. It was definitely cool to see Henry Cavill take on a role other than he kind of stepped out of that Superman cape. This was it. This was his coming out party, as far as I'm concerned. Just kind of hearing that wit, that he had, and like just in a different tone for him. He's like I said, you get your crew, and it's kind of like everyone has their specialty, and it all comes down to killing at the very end of it. But everyone has their different ways of going about it. Alan Ritchson, as we know from Reacher, was in this movie, and as the Danish commando, uh, his character was amazing. He was one of my favorite characters in this movie. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I think what was the first scene? They're out on the boat, and the forces come over on like a little, almost like a paddle boat, right? It's like they're like jammed in on this little paddle boat, and like, oh, we're gonna board your ship, and
Yeah, it's
we're
like a
gonna talk
captain's
smack
thingy.
to you. Like, I don't know, I'm not the Navy. All I know is water makes everything worse. That's like my mantra, right? But they just like float over there, and they're like getting on their boat. Yeah, we're just gonna talk crap to these guys and see, and you see what happens. But I thought that the intro with those guys, the introduction to this, was pretty good.
Yeah, it was that was a great intro, and that they played drunk to try to throw the Nazis and well, that captain of the ship and some of his crew off while they were searching around the boat was I think was key. Yeah, I mean it for me. It was hard to pick a favorite actor out of this, to be honest. right? I mean, I think everybody in here did a fantastic job. I'd have to say, I mean, if I had to lean towards one, it's going to be Henry Cavill, man. I just like kind of the brashness about him, and then the comic relief, right? Like early on, when they pull him out of confinement, out of prison, into the office and tell him, "Hey, we need you for this mission because they need guys who kind of don't obey the rules." And the whole time and throughout the movie, he's like stealing everything. He's stealing cigars, he's stealing the whiskey, and he's always, pointing out somebody's outfit. He's like, I got to get me one of those hats. I got to get me one of those jackets. And he walks away with everybody's clothes, whether it's the guy who's kind of leading this band, managing it, or, a Nazi later on. It's just, it's fantastic. And the work that they do when they actually get to work with the guns and stuff is just hilarious and great at the same time. But
Yeah,
yeah,
a lot of hip fire.
yeah, I mean those, what was those, grease guns or whatever, man, they were doing a great job with it. Obviously
Theo's very good at that,
unrealistic, but yeah, I mean, dude, it was great from beginning to end.
Yeah, and the one guy, the Frogman, that kind of just swam over to this huge like destroyer sized ship. Like, oh yeah, I took care of it. Like they're like waiting for like the explosion, and it's like, okay, I don't see anything happening. Trust me, it'll be fine, guys. They're like,
Anytime now.
I don't know, man. I'm not seeing anything, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, this entire ship blows up. I don't know if he swam over there with like C4. I don't know how he managed to blow up this ship with one guy that just kind of just went over there and handled it. But that just goes. It just went to show you like the amount of damage that these guys could do. They were specialists, you know what I mean? So uh, just watching him collect his guys, and of course they had to go on rescue mission. You always got to get that one guy, right? The one guy that gets caught, they got to go bust him out so he can join the team. And that was Alex Pettifier's character, Appleyard, and he's supposed to be like the brain. Like he was like him and Henry Cavill's character, which was Gus March Phillips. Uh, they had some history, so he knew he needed to get this guy out, and that was like part of that's a little side mission before the major mission. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that explosion, man. Yeah, that was a pretty massive one. I think if I recall, he said, now I don't know how he did it, but he said something like, yeah, he was able to find the powder room where all the gunpowder was stored. How he found that from outside, that maybe he's like knocking on it about, oh, this sounds like powder in there, and place whatever large charge that he did on there to, I guess, account for the large explosion. But man, dude, that thing looked like it was hit by multiple torpedoes at the same time, and the explosion was ridiculous. But yeah, dude, I mean, this band of merry men is awesome. And yeah, once they picked up old boy, right, he was hooked up like Rambo, with like the car battery. He's like, hey, yeah, it's still on. Can you mind turning that
Right.
off?
Dude's got like bloody
Oh
nipples.
God,
That
man.
remind me of Tango and Cash.
My nipples are smoking.
Yeah.
Help me, Tom Cruise. Over Winfrey.
I actually thought that rescue sequence was fantastic, man, because up until that point, we hadn't seen what the band was actually truly capable of doing when they're all on the ground getting into the fight. I mean, the Frogman from earlier, he got some earlier, but not on this one. On this one, everybody comes out. And it's so funny because you can tell that these dudes are 100% in the Nazi killing business, because all discipline goes out the window when it comes to the Danish commando there. And he's like, I guess we're like Henry Cavill's like, oh crap, we're no longer going silent. And it's because Reacher throws a freaking hand grenade into the German bunker, and he's like, I don't care, I'm killing everybody.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. Everyone is having an absolute riot. No trigger discipline or target identifiers whatsoever, because the guy opens up with those two, I think they were like MG38s, and he like traverses across the barracks, and he's like, two of your guys are in there right now. Plus, you're trying to rescue a cat.
Oh man, I mean the cooks got it. Whoever was on post got that work, man. I mean, if you had like secretaries, administration, didn't matter. Everybody was getting smoked. I think the bow and arrow was a good touch, and I had to look it up. I had to look up the actual Danish commando that Alan Richardson's character was playing, Anders Lassen, and his actual, from the story that I read, his actual weapon of choice were grenades. Right, so this guy was a 24-year-old major commando in the Danish army, and he actually did perish in a battle where he was tasked to go in and take out a group of like 18, I think, or so, fortified position, and dude actually died while making that charge and getting the mission done. but he did perish in that battle, and he this dude is throwing grenades, and I'm like, the dude was a badass. Like Alan Richardson's character is fun, big dude, going there, going to work, stabbing people with arrows. But to get that
Everything.
little bit of the real person, it's like, okay, so this is what the actual hero looks like. And just reading that story was like, and it kind of gave you goosebumps, man. Like that one guy that was like 24 years old, like just going there and going to work, without fearing of, well, not necessarily not fear, because we all have a fear, but to go in there with the fear is what gives you courage. And to go in there and do that at the age of 24, man, is something to behold.
And to keep doing it. That's the thing.
Right. Yeah. Not a one and done. Yeah.
So basically, lesson learned here is don't mess with Finnish commandos, and according to last week, this week we don't mess with Danish commandos.
Nope.
Yeah, Norway, you've got some good friends next door to you.
Yeah, not the old ones or the young ones.
Right? Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, just
I don't know if there's anywhere in between, but yeah, not the old ones or the young ones.
Yeah, so the movie kind of progresses from there. So we break the guy out, and the crew picks up, and they basically are. You've got parallel stories going on, because on the ground in off the coast of Africa, the island I forget what it's called actually, the location where they're going. Anyway, it's an island off the northwest side of Africa, and they're going there. So they have agents on the ground. They're kind of doing like the prep work for the guys to come in and do their thing. The goal is to blow the ship up, but as we get closer to execution, we discover that the hull has been reinforced. So they've got to come up with a plan B on how they're going to do this. And if you looked at this as just a movie and didn't know it was based on a true story, you'd be like, yeah, it's just some Hollywood bullshit. Mm-hmm. It's when you read the actual story and you're like, man, these guys actually did this kind of crazy crap. And it's just awesome.
Yeah, dude, the brain, man, right? The brain came. He's like, yeah, you know what? E equals MC square, and let's go with this plan. And he wasn't even sure if that plan was going to work. I mean, he came up with some off the cuff, awesome plan. I mean, again, in the movie, and they freaking steal the boat. I mean, they shut down power. There's a lot that goes into this, leading up to this. But yeah, you're right, man. That hull got reinforced, and in true Henry Cavill form in this, as well as what is it, Alan Richardson. Like they're just kind of cruising, walking down. He's wearing one of those jackets that he stole right from a Nazi. He's kind of dressed like one, and they're just rolling up on guys that are standing watch. Having them pop tall. There was one scene I remember. There was like three of them just kind of chilling, maybe smoking and joking.
Oh, and yeah.
They were about Alan Richardson's character was about to shoot him, and
no way.
Henry Cavill's like, no, wait, and he gets there and lets the guys get to attention. And he starts speaking, and they're like, "Oh, wait, dude!" And they just go down the line, like 1, 2, 3, popping them off. But they're just constantly just looking to the side as they're shooting guys off to this side, making faces. I mean, even earlier in the barracks, when they were having like some kind of class and getting scolded by some 20-year-old Nazi, they wipe those guys out, and there's the one guy in there the whole time, kind of looking out like. Something's not right. Something's going on, and he finally sees it. And then, conversely, there's another barracks that's got guys telling jokes, and in pops Henry Cavill and Alan Richardson, and they start laughing at the joke. And he was like, "Yeah, that was a good one," and they just wipe them all out. But it just goes to show, man, like the comic relief kind of paired with like the realism in this and the action, man. It all melded together, man. It's just amazing, man. Great movie.
Yeah, dialogue felt like very. On a mature level of another senior NCO. So you get some dark humor. I laughed out loud quite a fair amount of times. Not ashamed to say it. And I just felt like this script was written by a senior NCO, which probably wasn't. But man, what a fantastic show. And then the tour de force at the end of the movie is just, it's a nail biter, man. Like you if you go in blind, you don't know the true story, it gets a little intimidating where you're like, man, are they really going to pull this off? And I actually thought, spoiler alert, that some of the crew were not going to make it back out of this one. And I was quite surprised to see that they all did, minus that one, I think it's the Irishman, the ship's captain, the pilot of the boat. Sorry, not Navy. Mm-hmm. He's the one that's got the wound, and he's still good. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, man. They all came back alive. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it goes to show you too, like, so with that reinforced hull information, That's that's the other part of fighting, the intel, right? You got to get that information, because if you go in there without knowing that, it kind of destroys the mission. So there's all different aspects of war fighting, and I think they kind of covered it all in this movie, which made it good. There were parts, for me that were a little slow. It was kind of like, okay, we're building up. We're getting to the aspect of getting the information, turning it over. Uh, till you get to the fight scenes, right? Till you get to the actual, okay, we're going in, we're actually putting the plan into motion. That's when you get the, the shooting, and guys just laying everybody out. I don't think they took two shots in return fire. If it was, it probably an accident, like some dude like misfired. Like, oh, I'm sorry, what happened? Like this dude watched the guy next to him go down with a headshot, and he just standing there like, that didn't look right. And he gets one. Like, come on, guys, like just some type of way, like some kind of situational awareness, right? You're all out here for a reason, and I get it. We kind of get complacent if there's not a situation, until there is one. You're like, oh, well, what's going on? Oh, well, they're coming on the beach and they're killing all of us. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't realize it, you don't realize it until it's too late, and a lot of these guys realize it too late.
Yeah, Isa Gonzalez, we mentioned her at the very beginning, but I don't want to leave her out. I think she was fantastic, man. She played a really good agent, really good
Yeah,
spy.
Marjorie Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah, had a lot of great skills, from just being, kind of that spyish vixen to good with weapons, man. I mean, she had
Yeah.
her own little weapon scene in there, which was phenomenal. And then a little joke at the end when she was about to pull a grenade to show how good she was. Like, no, stop. But yeah, she did phenomenal. The whole movie looked classy, and then smart at the same time. It was great. And then one of my favorite things about Alan Rickson on the boat, man, like he was doing this throughout, but when they stole the ship and he had to come from the other side, so they had a group of Nazis on board the boat, or a group of sailors on board the boat that were ship's company, and they were trying to get through to a couple of the good guys, and they'd locked the door. And of course, Alan Rickson's character is coming from the other side, just mayhem, just killing everybody in his wake. He's shooting arrows, arrows break. He's like shanking guys in the neck with the broken piece of
Oh man.
of the arrow. And then of course he finds an axe on the wall, and it's like, man, it couldn't have been more of a perfect storm. And he just mows down that entire room and looks through the glass, the window on the hatch, and he's like, "Hi guys," as he's covered in the blood of all these dudes he just wiped out. It was classic. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Gentle homicidal maniac.
The Danish bear, I think they call them. Yeah, I don't
Those
know.
dudes
Black
were
bear,
grateful he was on
koala,
their side.
grizzly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, the only thing that kind of detracted for me was actually the parallel story. Like I felt that and here's the rub too, because it's important to the narrative. The big setup and it all can't be all action, otherwise that's all you're gonna get. Just go watch Sisu. But
Yeah,
the
that's what
dialogue, I felt like that one, some of that parallel route with her setting everything in place kind of took a little bit longer than it needed to. And that would probably be where I would lay any of my complaints against the movie at, is probably that side storyline that was still essential.
Yeah, I would probably say if I had a complaint, not a big one, but the guy who played Winston Churchill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of I've seen better Churchills done, and even the look, like,
Yeah,
he that was a badly done Winston Churchill. But I like some of his dialogue every once in a while, and kind of that Winston Churchill, like, screw it attitude. But yeah, I would say if I had to pick anything that was disappointing about it to me, it would be that. But this was still, bar none, one of the best movies I've seen this year for sure.
And it's directed by Guy Ritchie, so who doesn't love him? And if you haven't watched The Gentleman on Netflix, go watch that. But huge fan of his. He does a bunch of British gangster films: Snatch, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, Rock and Rolla.
Yeah, those sound like all horrible movies.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was just a joke, dude. Lock, Stock. Oh, dude, great movie.
Right?
But
King Arthur, not so much.
They can't all be gems.
No, they cannot, and that was far from a gem.
No, man. Like I said, it was a good movie. It was definitely entertaining. I enjoyed it. Like I said, love the action, love the cast of characters. Like I said, I thought it was very well put together, and of course, anytime you're dealing with some history, you have to kind of remain true to history, so it can't all be ridiculous Hollywood action. But with that, yeah, that's all I have on this one.
Yeah, I like that it was kind of to tag on to what you were saying, Eric. I like that it had uh, some true story origin, right? It wasn't just a made up. Although, even if it was made up, it would have been great. But it kind of took it over the top for me, being based in real events, kind of true story background. That made it, that much sweeter of a movie to watch, and the acting was quality, right? I mean, they did a great job writing the script to, the actors actually bringing that to the film, to the silver screen. So just a great movie, man. Kudos.
All right, so let's start off with our round the room scoring. So, Eric, what you got, man?
Well, like I said, man, loved it. It was a good movie. There were parts that were a little slow for me. The action was good. Um, I had to give it a 6. Like I said, still good, still a fairly enjoyable movie. It just, I don't know if it's like the musical score, because like I said, I put a big piece on music, because that music kind of gives you that feeling, those goosebumps. I never got the goosebump feeling, right? Yeah, okay, we're killing people, that's cool, but like I didn't get that, that moment, like, oh man, like that really, when you come out, you really talk about that scene when you leave the theater. Oh man, that scene was crazy. Like I didn't get that from this movie, even though it was good, spaced out. So yeah, I gave it a 6. It was a solid movie for me.
All right, Chris, what do you got, man?
Yeah, so yeah, it's weird. Like me and Eric seem to be switching places a little on this movie with regards to the past couple. But I'm giving this one a solid 7, man. I don't know if
Nice.
it's because I like sevens or it's the one thing that kept it from getting an 8. I hate to say it, was the Winston Churchill. Like he to me was one of the characters you can't get wrong, and I think they kind of got it a little wrong with, maybe the actor that they picked, the makeup, the kind of everything about him. Even though it wasn't bad, but that brought it down to that 7 for me. But still, a solid performance across the board, and for those actors that we didn't mention, like there's a ton of cast in there that did phenomenal work. So yeah, I put it at 7 for me.
Nice, man. Well, I'm gonna ride this one out because this reminded me a little bit of my childhood. So there's a smidge of nostalgia there. Yeah, I grew up with my dad showing me old war movies, and two of my favorites have always been The Dirty Dozen and The Wild Geese. Um, Similar movies, very similar to this. It just brought me back to those kind of days of watching like old school World War II movies, and just absolutely loved it. So I gave it a solid 8, and that brings our tally to, once I find it. So it brings us to a 7, man. So on our overall master tracker list, though, where are we at? All right, so it's number 5, just above Beekeeper. So it is currently showing in your local theaters, and shout out to our local AMC 11 over in Annapolis. Thanks for letting the beards come out and catch a flick at your location. So that's our frequent in theater. That's where we go to check out most of our movies that are in theaters, barring any other circumstances happening. So, but yeah, man, fantastic movie. And you know what? It gets me excited for the summer because I felt like this was a good kickoff summer action movie too. So pretty pumped to see what else comes out. I'm looking at you, Deadpool Wolverine.
And go.
Yeah,
That's right
hashtag.
now.
Where our
Hashtag.
hopes and our dreams lie with you.
Yes.
Please,
Yeah,
please,
Wolverine.
Yeah.
please help us.
Come on, Marvel Jesus, bring it.
Oh my gosh. No.
Come on. Come on.
We need something, man.
We do.
need a-
Yeah, I think it's gonna be good.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming out and checking out this latest episode from Beards of War. And this is Fat Broken Rambo. Have a good night.
Think Nick Fury out.
Chris signing off.
Subscribe.